Hi guys! Welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new legal advice content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first one is titled, "My brother reported a tow truck driver for drinking and driving after an apparent road rage incident which resulted in the driver throwing a half-empty beer bottle at his van. This morning he woke up to find his van missing and discovered it had been towed by the very same company." Saskatchewan, Canada. Hold on to your hats, this is a long and somewhat complicated situation. Simply put, my brother believes he has been retaliated against for reporting a drunk tow truck driver and he has no clue what to do in order to end it. As the title states, my brother was involved in an apparent road rage incident involving a drunk tow truck driver. My brother had seen the driver in a Walmart parking lot and noticed that he was cracking open a bottle of beer and drinking from it. My brother parked in front of the driver and watched him for a few minutes before the driver drove off, and that is when he began following him while calling both the police and the towing company and providing them with details about the man and the ID number on the truck. The driver was most definitely drunk as he had been drifting all over the place, so my brother kept some distance from him until he could pull up to him at a red light. My brother got the man's attention and informed him that he had been reported for driving drunk, to which the man responded by first denying it, then swearing and screaming when my brother began recording him with his phone. My brother tried to keep calm, but he did get a bit vulgar by telling him that he was a piece of crap who was going to kill someone. And eventually the man threw his half-empty beer bottle at the van, which didn't break but left a decent dent and scratch on the driver's side door. This is when my brother got scared and took off, stupidly running a red light, only to have the driver follow him and attempt to cut him off and brake check him several times. My brother then did another stupid thing by driving home as quickly as possible, leading the man right to where he lived. On the way there, my brother called 911 again to tell them that the man he had reported was now following him home while aggressively trying to cut him off. He asked if the police could meet him at his house, and while they said they would, they highly recommended that he come to the station instead. I have no clue why he didn't follow this very solid advice. When he finally got home, the police had not arrived yet. My brother parked in the driveway and tried to run inside before the driver did something to him, but it didn't matter in the end as the man drove by slowly, flipped him off, and told my brother that he knows where he lives now before driving away. This obviously rattled my brother, and when the police arrived 30 minutes later, he told them everything that happened and filed a police report while also showing the officers the brief video he recorded of the incident and gave the towing company one more call to tell them what happened and that he filed said report. The dispatch worker apparently sounded as though he didn't believe my brother and refused to release the name of the driver, and then asked for his address, name, number and the number of the police report. Bro also informed them that he would be filing the insurance for the damage done to his vehicle and that he would send the invoice to them. My brother decided to wait on the insurance because wanted to wait to see if the police find out who the driver was so that he can invoice him directly. 10 days went by without hearing anything from either the police or the other parties. On that 10th day, which is today, he woke up to discover that his van was missing. He had parked it on the street the day before as he needed the space on the driveway to do some maintenance on his truck. There are no signs prohibiting him from parking on the road, not to mention that several neighbors of his park on the road every day with no troubles at all. He originally thought that it was stolen and so he reported it stolen, after which his wife told him to call around to towing companies to see if it had been towed for some reason. After calling several companies, he finally called the very same company that this whole debacle started with and, surprise surprise, they had his van. The person on the phone was unaware of the situation that had occurred last week but was able to tell him that the vehicle was towed because someone claiming to be a neighbor had called them to tell them they had parked in front of their driveway and that they were unable to get their vehicles off the driveway. This person also claimed that they had asked my brother to move his vehicle, but my brother refused. This whole thing had allegedly occurred at 5 in the morning, and the van was towed promptly. The dispatch worker refused to tell my brother which driver had towed it, and being rightfully pissed, he demanded to speak to someone in charge. This ultimately went nowhere as the boss refused to release that information as well. They couldn't provide the name and number of the neighbor, the ID number of the truck that towed it, and they claimed to know nothing about the road rage incident. They told my brother that he will need to pay $280 to get his vehicle back, to which he argued over and had some choice words for this boss. He called the police station to tell them that his vehicle hadn't been stolen, but he did tell them about the previous incident and told the officer on the phone that he believes that his vehicle was towed illegally by the very same company listed in the police report. He was told by the officer that there wasn't much they could do as it was a civil matter. He then contacted all of the neighbors near his home to find out if one of them called a tow truck, and not a single person knew anything about it. So, my brother now feels completely defeated and has to come up with enough money to get his van back. He doesn't know what he can do to prove it was retaliation for the previous altercation and is worried that this could possibly happen again. I'm trying to help him by seeing if anyone has advice to help him deal with this situation, whether it involves taking them to court or simply finding out who the driver is in order for the police to pick him up. I'm as much at a loss as him, and I really wish he wouldn't have to pay the fee, but it's unfortunately looking like he is crap out of luck. Please help us figure out what our options are, if any. My brother just wants to put all of this BS behind him and move on, but if it happens again, I'm sure he'll blow a gasket. Thank you to anyone who can help. Final update. My brother was involved in a road rage incident with a drunk tow truck driver. 10 days later his van goes missing, and he discovers that it had been illegally towed by the very same company. I apologize for the very late update, but we were advised by a lawyer to keep any updates to ourselves until everything was resolved in the courts. I want to thank everyone for their support and fantastic advice. You really helped my brother develop a plan in order to solve this issue once and for all. I recently was asked by a Redditor for an update, and now that the case has been dealt with, I will share what I told this Redditor, except with more complete details. So basically, we hired a lawyer, who was my brother's friend's husband, and was willing to help us out for no more than a bottle of scotch and filed a police report. The lawyer worked to get evidence from the police to see if any officers were on scene the night of the towing, as it was company policy to do so according to the owner. He has found nothing thus far. We asked police to search the van for us when we picked it up to make sure nothing was planted, which was advice from a certain Redditor, thank you sir, and to check and see if my brother's work bag with laptop and iPad were still in there. Yep, my brother realized that not only was his laptop in the van, but so was his iPad. This meant that he could use Find My iPhone to see where it was, as long as the battery hadn't died yet. The police officer searched the van for us and luckily nothing was planted. However, unluckily, the bag was missing from his front seat. We told the officer it must have been stolen, and my brother was fortunately able to use his iPhone to use Find My iPhone, and it pinged from the same address as the tow company. We went inside to see if we could hear the ping but didn't hear anything. Not that the owner would let us in very far anyways. We then walked around outside and eventually heard it coming from a black SUV. The police officer then asked the owner whose car it was and, surprisingly, it belonged to another tow truck driver we've never met. The owner had to call him back to the office, and once he arrived the officer asked him to open the trunk of his SUV, which he did, and we were able to retrieve my brother's bag, as well as a few other items. He was arrested and my brother pressed charges for theft under $5,000, which is a somewhat interesting law as its punishment seems to vary wildly from what I've read, not that I know anything about laws. But really, talk about sheer dumb luck, or divine intervention, or some other unlikely miracle. At that point the illegal towing continued to be a separate civil matter, but the theft was a different story. The thief originally said he was trying to keep it in a safe place so no one would break into the van and steal it, and that he was going to return the valuables once the owners arrived. Afterwards he admitted that he didn't know anything about the illegal towing, but he is friends with the guy we knew. He said that this coworker mentioned to him something about how many valuables were left in the van and they considered stealing it and selling it for a quick buck. Fucking assholes. For whatever reason, the driver we knew never faced charges of any kind, and from what we know he still has his job. His friend was not so lucky. Anyways, he told the officer that he took the bag when he went to move the vehicle behind a secure gate the morning of the tow. He apparently also stole some CDs, some change he found in the center console, and a half-empty pack of cigarettes. He claims it was his first time. I wanted to ask him why the hell he kept stolen property sitting in the trunk of his SUV. I mean, my brother is incredibly lucky, especially with Find My iPhone still working, but this guy is seriously a straight-up moron for leaving stolen property in his car for 2 days, especially if that person is coming to pick up their vehicle in those 2 same days. My brother and I still can't help but laugh about it now. Thank God for stupid criminals. We had been waiting a long time for the sentencing hearing. I'm not sure why it took as long as it did. My brother and his lawyer know more about it than I do. With that said, he was only sentenced to 3 months jail time with an additional 6-month probation for a first-time offense. It's not great, but it's something. We are pissed off that the original driver is getting away with everything as the police really aren't interested in him. There is no evidence that he conspired to steal the valuables, other than the words from the actual thief who is probably trying to shift blame. The police are now calling everything else we have going on with the tow company as a civil matter. We are confused by this as the officer came with us to the tow yard under the guise of dealing with the illegal towing. As soon as theft was discovered, he completely shifted gears. It really is frustrating and sickening that this prick is free to do more drunk driving and road raging at innocent people, and then stealing their ducking car. Sorry for the language, it just really makes me angry thinking about it. Anyways, as for the tow company, the owner waived all towing fees and he apologized profusely. However, my brother's lawyer recommended that he attempt to take them to small claims court for 2 days of missed work due to having no operating vehicle nor money for a taxi and the fact that he has been busy trying to deal with this whole situation. He is only asking for that plus legal fees, which in the end is just shy of $300. We accept that nothing will come of the road rager, but maybe this little, small claims issue may open the owner's eyes to just how expensive having a drunk, crazy thief working for him is. A man can wish. Thank you all once again. You helped us out tremendously. This whole thing didn't even come close to how we expected it to go. We hope for the arrest of one man and instead end up with the arrest of some other Randy who isn't very bright. Maybe we will upload the video of the road rage incident to YouTube so that some people know who to look out for, and to also publicly humiliate him. Anyhow, I apologize for the length of this post, and how unsatisfying the end result of this debacle is. Thank you again for your advice and support. Take care, y'all. The next one is titled, "Can I be sued for knocking down a drone flying in my yard and then erasing its memory card?" April 6, 2016. This occurred in San Diego. Someone has been flying a drone around the neighborhood for the last few weeks. No one knew who it was, but it has been taking video of people as it has a camera mounted below it. It has caught my daughter and her friends in the pool in our backyard multiple times. Yesterday, I saw it and grabbed our power washer and my son, and I managed to knock it to the ground using it and the garden hose and our lawn furniture cushions. It got a bit damaged, so I took it inside to see if I could find the owner. I saw the multiple videos on the memory card, including multiple ones of my daughter and her friends in their swimsuits and ones of other neighbors as well, and erased it. My son is very good with computers, and he did a permanent wipe of the data. About that time, one of my across-the-street neighbors came over and demanded his drone back. I refused at first until he could prove it was his. He threatened to call the police and I agreed and did it right then and there. Eventually a cop came and after talking to both of us, told me to give the drone back, which I did. He got angry that it was damaged, but the cop said it was a civil matter and that he could sue. About an hour later he came back threatening to sue me because the memory card was erased and that I destroyed the propeller foil or something when I illegally brought down his drone, and that I am liable for damages for erasing his memory card. He said he couldn't recover anything and that he was going to sue me for thousands. I laughed openly at him and told him to get off my property or I would call the police again. He left yelling, "But am I really in danger of being sued and losing for knocking the drone down when it was flying about just over our backyard and erasing the videos he had taken from inside ours and others' backyards? That seems way more illegal to videotape us from within our own yard without our permission. Sorry if this is too long, but I'm not sure what to include." Relevant comments. Comments were very mixed, especially on the legality. How much of a good idea it was to delete the memory card, given that it was evidence that the guy was spying on people. Posters cite already established case law about how low drones can fly over property legally. Laws enacted to restrict drone usage, as well as FAA rules on that. Privacy laws are also mentioned. Comments. Tell OOP that he could be sued for destroying contents of memory card. Ask why police haven't been called. OOP. We did call the police, as did our neighbors. They never came and basically laughed it off on the phone. It was flying in our backyard. Inside our privacy fence, just a few feet off the ground taking video. How is that different than a person walking into our private backyard to do the same? I'm not trying to argue, I'm just trying to understand. We called and our neighbors have been calling for weeks. Not one officer responded until he called with the report that I had his drone. I just don't understand that at all. Update. I know this sub likes updates, so here is mine. It doesn't have a lot of legal stuff though. I hope that is okay. There was a lot of behind-the-scenes activity. One of my neighbors contacted the WA secretary to get the contact information of the member from that house, and she was pretty sure that the guy was not the legal owner. The owners are his step-grandparents and basically don't live there 11 months out of the year. They are RVers and drive around visiting places and their kids and grandkids, and they let their step-grandson, daughter's stepson, live there for free. I called them and they were very sweet people and absolutely shocked at what he was doing. I told them what he was doing with his drone and what happened in my yard and what was on the videos from the memory card. I also told them that he was doing the same thing for a few of the other neighbors and gave them the names that I knew of. The next day, they called me back and sincerely apologized for what he was doing and assured me that he would never be doing that again and that they were no longer allowing him to live there. Evidently, they don't know him terribly well, nor do they really like him, but they were doing this as a favor to their daughter. I saw him moving stuff into a U-Haul truck this weekend. As I walked by, he said that he was going to sue me for thousands of dollars because of the damage to his drone and then started cursing at me loudly. I had privately decided to pay for his drone damage when approached, but I think now I will make him sue me in court and make him admit to the judge that he was taking peeping Tom videos with his drone. I suspect he will not sue me. If he does, I will get the attorney we used before when we were sued for a slip and fall on our driveway to defend me. The last one is titled, "Just Closed on 2-Acre House. Neighbors ripped up all my plants. My husband and I have been dreaming to homestead together since we met. After a lot of hard work and saving, we finally left the apartment life and got ourselves a 2-acre house so we can start homesteading. We were so excited because it already had a decent sized garden with tomatoes, peppers, kale, sweet potatoes. We closed on the house Friday. We had to work on the weekend, so when we came back on Monday to move in some stuff, it was all gone. We think it was the neighbor because they oddly had a chain link fence with a gate that comes into our yard where the garden was. We also saw all the stakes in his backyard. We were heartbroken, but we have no real proof that they did it. Our plan now is to build a privacy wood fence only on the side that faces that neighbor and start from scratch, which in a way it's better so we can plant them our way with a little more organization." Edit. I need to be clear. I am not trying to start a feud. Obviously I don't know anything about gardening, which is why I posted this here. I will try to start a conversation with them. I just thought it was weird to have someone come to my property to remove anything, but I see now that it could have been with good intention, so that's what I'm gonna tell myself when I go speak to them. Thanks for listening.